Because Caitlin Clark's detractors are aware that everything has changed, this picture serves as nightmare fuel. Allow me to clarify. They believed they had Caitlin under control. She was having trouble. Without her, the Fever was floundering, and she was out of action. They believed that Diana Taurasi's prophecy was finally come to pass. They were making small jabs and smelled blood. However, the Fever's Commissioner's Cup victory changed everything. Nobody anticipated it, especially ESPN, who completely embarrassed themselves. I'll get to them right away. For the remainder of the season, this victory had 3 significant effects for Caitlin and the Fever. If we've learned anything, it's that the more Caitlin succeeds, the more the Fever and the war on her escalate. I'll go into greater detail in this video. After the game, Caitlin said, "Just wait. It will turn out to be a prophecy." Let's start by discussing what transpired, the haters' response, and what to anticipate moving ahead. But first, celebrate the Fever's victory by leaving a trophy in the comments.
To the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe one night y'all don't go to the casino.
I have something on this though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
First of all, Fever supporters anticipated this at the beginning of the season, but almost no one anticipated it going into the Commissioner Cup Finals. The Fever were hailed as championship candidates at the beginning of the season. The big-name free agents were brought in. "We govern this league, and you can pound sand if you don't like it," was the essence of their Now You Know campaign. Naturally, they also had Caitlin Clark, who returned fully recovered and prepared to step up her game. And they got off to a spectacular start, destroying the sky in front of 2.7 million people. However, the hate speech inquiry, Caitlin's 5-game injury, Dana pulling a Peter Gibbons from The Office, and her decision to quit all caused chaos, but kept getting paid. The next game was Gladiator Night at Gainbridge, where MMA Maberry and UFC JC took their best shots at Caitlin while the referee essentially gave them advice, just when we thought everything had returned to normal following Caitlin's historic comeback against the Liberty. Then, during garbage time versus the Storm, Caitlin had an injury that prevented her from competing in the Commissioner's Cup. In summary, the Fever were not expected to defeat the Lins. So much so that ESPN had one of the largest cell phones ever during the game.
America loves her. The fans clearly love her. The media likes her, but the players can't stand her. 9th best guard in the league. Don't try to give me the excuses of, well, she's been struggling lately, or she missed some games with injury. Come on. This is insanity. And I think it's an activist vote by the women of the WNBA who simply cannot stand her success. It's so dumb and it's so childish.
I also confirmed this. They didn't change the title until the game was ended. Insane. In any case, the team demonstrated their strength in the absence of Caitlin. After falling behind early on, they embarked on an 18-0 run and never looked back. Natasha Howard, who declared she wanted to be MVP, gave outstanding individual performances, and wow, it occurred. That's manifestation in action. In any case, the Fever performed an Uno reversal on ESPN. Without Caitlin Clark playing, they controlled the Lynx in their barn, and the detractors went insane. Not only did the Fever win, but Caitlin won a championship even though she wasn't playing.
They did win the final without her, but it's not like she's Nikola Topic or anything. The only reason they got to the final was because she had a 32-point near triple-double against the New York Liberty. They beat the previously undefeated New York Liberty after a Caitlin Clark masterclass in a game no one thought they were going to win.
You know, Caitlin's failure to win a championship was the standard criticism leveled at her. Despite rewriting the record book and leading a mid-team to the finals twice, that is what prevented her from being included in ESPN's selection of the top 5 collegiate players of all time. They've exploited Caitlin's lack of a title along with Angel's championship with LSU and unrivaled to claim that Angel is superior since she's a winner, even though the entire rivalry with Angel Reese is ridiculous at this point because they're not in the same galaxy talent or impact-wise. With this Commissioner Cup victory, the haters' crutch is no longer there. Naturally, though, it doesn't matter if you ask the haters. In addition to claiming that it isn't a true championship, they also claim that it doesn't matter because Caitlyn didn't participate in the championship game. For this reason alone, of course, this is nonsensical reasoning. After playing lights-out ball against the Liberty and then having a big effect against the Sun, Caitlyn was the reason they made it. However, those who claim the game was rigged win the prize for the most bitter tears.
The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her.
However, the chosen logic is what makes this humorous. These are the same folks that enthusiastically applauded Angel Reese's unparalleled victory, a professional title that differs from the WNBA system. Then there's this, though. Angel wasn't in the building and didn't participate in the championship game. However, none of this prevented her supporters, and the media from applauding her victory, making visuals to congratulate her on winning a championship, and using it to disparage Caitlin Clark because Angel now had 2 chips compared to Caitlyn's 0. However, because she didn't participate in the final and it was rigged anyhow, Caitlyn's crucial contribution to the Fever reaching the WNBA intraseason championship final with prize money doesn't count.
The real fans, all right? Capitalize the real fans of the W will find out what backroom deal you two made to have the Lynx throw this game. Not even cracking 60 points. That isn't even believable to the most naked eye. When we find out, we're coming for your jobs. Full force.
Here's where the haters are trembling, though. Without Caitlyn, the Fever triumphed on the grand stage. They defeated the league's top team, the Lynx, who were 14-2 at the time, at their arena, which is essentially Carver North, due to the large number of Fever and Iowa supporters that attended. It's still a road victory, though. It's also proof of concept. When it counted most, all of the leaders who were called in for critical situations performed. Natasha Howard was a beast once more. Sophie was invaluable. There's a lot to like at the moment when you combine it with Aaliyah and Lexi's fantastic seasons. Are they flawless?
Nope.
Can we voice our complaints regarding coaching?
Yes.
Fans act in this way. However, things are moving in the right direction. Recall how I stated that the Fever's fortunes were altered in 3 ways by this victory?
Here's how.
It lessens this team's edge. To start, winning, as they say, fixes everything. Even though Sophie previously claimed that the squad was on separate islands, nothing unites everyone like a championship, even if it's not the biggest one. They needed to defeat the Liberty and the Lynx, the 2 best teams. The swagger has returned, but I wouldn't anticipate perfection in the future. They appear to have survived the storm. Additionally, they're far more dynamic now that Aari McDonald is a permanent member of the team than they were with Bonner, the Goner. Second, Caitlyn has more time to relax because the edge is removed. There was a lot of conjecture, including mine, that the Fever let Caitlyn play hurt at the start of the season before allowing her to return from injury early. Without Caitlyn, the Fever might easily remain in the postseason picture for a few more games or weeks. In order to guarantee Caitlyn's complete recovery, fans had already pleaded with the Fever to give her more time. And after defeating the Lynx, I believe Caitlyn and the Fever will be more likely to take this course. Rather than making Caitlyn a game-time decision, we saw early indications of this strategy with the Fever, who announced Caitlyn's absence versus the Aces a day in advance. Third, Caitlyn will play with a squad that is winning games and clicking when she returns fully recovered. Now that Aari McDonald is here to stay, they can gradually bring Caitlyn back, and instead of over-relying on her right away and running the risk of injury. Additionally, they're once again seen as contenders and have cap space, which allows them to get an upgrade through a trade. The haters find all of this frightening because they smell blood. They unanimously and anonymously informed Caitlin that she was experiencing a downturn.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting for the All-Star game. The pettiness has no bounds.
Look, there are many reasons why Caitlin Clark was voted the 9th best guard in the All-Star voting by the players. Indeed, I am aware that she wasn't actually ranked 9th. Nevertheless, this screams hit job when you consider how teams double-team her every game and the numbers, even with injuries and even terrible performances that were probably caused by a lingering ailment. She is not the 10th best guard.
And in talking to a source or two, it appears that Bonner was unable to, in some way, shape, or form, just deal with that spotlight, which is white hot, right? Yeah. It is just...
Once more, it appeared as though they had Caitlin on the ropes as they were communicating. But now that the Commissioner Cup victory has occurred, the narrative has changed, and the detractors are terrified because the Fever team will have more time to relax and be confident in their ability to perform better. It's also not a dread of confronting her. Actually, that isn't the case at all. They are aware that the dominant Fever team and Caitlin Clark will be the center of attention. We'll keep breaking viewing records. We'll keep attracting new supporters. And many in the league don't want those fans, despite the fact that it violates sense in many ways. This is the reason.
And that's the worst part of all this, is the new fans are sucking the life out of the WNBA right now. It's just the truth. You are right. You are right, new fans. There has never been more viewership because of Caitlin Clark. There's never been more attention. They're doing 40 minutes on First Take about Caitlin Clark. They never did that before, as Monica McNutt called out. You're right. But you know what there was in the WNBA last year and the years prior? There was other storylines. There was joy. There was talk of competition. There was talk of what was actually happening on.
Although this video isn't brand new, I believe it clarifies the perspective. Since the WNBA's founding, the NBA has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in it, but it hasn't seen a return in nearly 30 years. The W would have folded long ago if it weren't for them. They lost an incredible $40 million last year, even with Caitlin Clark in the mix. The WNBA and NBA training wheels are like riding a bike together. They remain upright regardless of what occurs or how much they sway. Caitlin offered a chance to take off the training wheels. However, as you recall from learning to ride a bike, falls and bruises are inevitable. In this instance, casual supporters who aren't there solely to unconditionally applaud women's basketball are the ones causing the bruising. They will fiercely critique players, just like sports fans do, and they are there to be amused. Angel Ree and Hermie Bounds are a constant example. Let's return to the Lisa Leslie video. I believe that many athletes have two things since they are so accustomed to the league continuing regardless of their financial performance. First, the arrogance that the league cannot fail. A false sense of entitlement comes in second. In other words, if they do begin to earn a profit, their top objective should be to at least partially reimburse the investors rather than request an increase. However, it doesn't appear like the players are seeing things that way. They are already discussing going on strike because they mistakenly think that the casuals will just return after the strike is done. However, they also believe that they can still achieve what they want by dumping on Caitlin and, consequently, her admirers. They want the old WNBA back, where they weren't under as much pressure, so I don't believe it matters if they return.
But it's interesting, for years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, the media is sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. Iowa girl, Indiana girl. Well, who knows? And I've said this for years. When the wave hits, ride it. You don't know what it looks like.
This seems to be the situation for a lot of players. If it's not the crowds, it's the increased scrutiny and internet trolls. However, there is also this.
We started the year talking about them being a contender for a WNBA championship. And if anything, tonight what I learned is they have what it takes. I mean, they played 5 of their last 6 games on the road coming in here. And if you can win games on the road like they did in an environment like they won in tonight, the sky's really the limit. And this is a team that's starting to get their confidence. They're showing their depth.
Players, fans, and the media all find it intolerable that Caitlin Clark is the center of attention all the time. They believe they ought to receive equal attention. Additionally, it's not so much that a single player is receiving praise from the media and fans. Who is receiving it is what matters.
Guys, I just know everybody in the league is sick.
A Caitlin and the Fever versus the WNBA dynamic results from all of this. Both she and her teammates are aware of it. Listen to what Caitlin revealed following the Commissioner's Cup victory.
Sure, Jan.
They're ill. They're angry. Recall that although she is obviously in the top 3, they elected her as the 9th-ranked guard. The haters are not pleased. Furthermore, the hatred will only grow because there isn't an impending reality check that will make gamers see the light. The referees will probably continue to permit the rough behavior on the court. Given that the Fever are back in the title conversation, which implies greater hatred, Caitlin's statement is probably a prophecy.
ESPN posted, I think around the 3rd quarter, at least that's when I was notified about it, that the Lynx dominate the Fever to win the Commissioner's Cup. And I took a screenshot. This is totally my screenshot, so I went and I verified this because I just couldn't believe it.
After all of this, the Fever are more resilient. And they will have to be, as the soft civil war in the WNBA is still going strong. It won't go away. Winning is the only way to save Caitlin and the Fever. The 2025 season's inaugural title has been won by the Fever. They must now prevail in the next. You deserve a prize for staying around, so please leave one in the comments if you enjoy this video. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you later.